podcast number 5 with Salamanca. Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're traveling back to London. Not the modern city you know today, but London in the year 1888. A city filled with smoke, busy factories, horse-drawn carriages, and long streets covered by thick fog.
It sounds mysterious, but was London really that dangerous?
Not all of London. But one neighborhood was different. A place called Whitechapel. It was one of the poorest areas in the city. Thousands of people lived there. Many families shared a single small room. Crime happened almost every day. For many women, walking alone at night wasn't a choice. It was the only way to earn enough money to survive.
So people were already afraid. Even before the murders.
Exactly. Whitechapel already had a terrible reputation. People expected robberies. They expected violence. Sometimes even murder. But during the summer of 1888, something began to change. Several attacks looked very similar. The police didn't know it yet, but they were already chasing someone who would soon become the most famous unidentified killer in history.
Did they know they were hunting a serial killer?
No, not at all. Everything still looked like ordinary crime. Until one quiet morning, a man walking to work stopped in the middle of the street because of something he would never forget. It was Friday, August 31st, 1888. Just before dawn, a man named Charles Cross was walking to work through Whitechapel. The streets were quiet. The fog was still thick. Then, he noticed something lying on the ground. At first, he thought it was a drunk person sleeping in the street.
Did he go closer? I think most people would be afraid.
He did. Slowly. Carefully. As he got closer, he realized it was a woman. She wasn't moving. Another man arrived a few moments later. Together, they looked at her. Neither of them understood what had happened. The street was too dark. The fog hid almost everything. So they quickly informed a police officer.
And that's when the investigation began?
Yes. The woman was identified as Marion Nichols. She was 43 years old. She had spent the previous evening looking for enough money to pay for a bed. Like many women in Whitechapel, life had been extremely difficult. No one imagined that her name would become the first in one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries.
Did the police think this was just another murder?
Exactly. At first, nothing suggested that a serial killer was walking the streets. But only a few days later, everything would change. Because another woman would be found dead. And this time, people started asking a terrifying question. Was the same killer still out there? Only 8 days later, on the morning of September 8th, 1888, Whitechapel woke up to another terrible discovery. Another woman had been murdered. Her name was Annie Chapman. She was found in the backyard of a small house on Hanbury Street. For the second time, the police were standing over a crime scene, with almost no witnesses, and almost no clues.
2 murders, in just over a week? That couldn't be a coincidence anymore.
That's exactly what many officers began to believe. The victims had similar backgrounds. Both women lived difficult lives. Both were attacked during the night. And the killer seemed to disappear without leaving a trace. The newspapers quickly noticed the similarities. Soon, people across London were talking about the same question. Was one man responsible for both murders?
I can imagine the fear. If the killer had escaped once, people must have believed he would strike again.
They were right. Women became more afraid to walk alone after dark. Some people refused to leave their homes at night. Police officers increased their patrols. But it wasn't enough. Every morning, people opened the newspapers, wondering if another body had been found. Whitechapel wasn't just a poor neighborhood anymore. It had become a place of fear.
Did the police have any suspects?
Many. Too many. Every new rumor created another suspect. But there was one problem. No solid evidence. No fingerprints. No cameras. No reliable witnesses. The killer always seemed to vanish into the London fog. It was the early morning of September 30th, 1888. Whitechapel was quiet. The streets were cold. The fog covered almost everything. Most people were asleep. But somewhere in the darkness, the killer was walking again. Before sunrise, the police would receive not one report, but 2.
2 victims, in the same night? How was that possible?
The first victim was Elizabeth Stride. She was found on Burner Street. Police believed the killer had been interrupted. Someone entered the street, and the attacker disappeared before he could stay any longer. For a short moment, it looked as if the nightmare had finally stopped. But it hadn't.
So he escaped and attacked again?
Less than an hour later, another woman was found. Her name was Catherine Eddowes. She had been killed in Mitre Square. 2 crime scenes. One night. And now, even the police could no longer ignore the truth. They were hunting one of the most dangerous criminals London had ever seen.
The whole city must have been terrified.
It was. Extra police officers filled the streets. The newspapers printed special editions. Rumors spread across London faster than ever. Everyone had a different theory. Everyone had a different suspect. But nobody had the answer. The killer had vanished. Once again.
So, when did people finally start calling him Jack the Ripper?
That happened only a few days later. A letter arrived. It was signed with a name the entire world would remember. A few days after the double event, a letter arrived at the Central News Agency in London. It was written in red ink. The writer claimed to be the killer. At the top of the page, 2 simple words appeared. Dear Boss.
Did people believe it was real?
Some did. Others didn't. Even today, historians still argue about it. The police received many letters during the investigation. Most were obvious hoaxes. But this one was different. Because at the very end, the writer signed his message with 4 unforgettable words. Jack the Ripper.
So, that's where the name came from?
Exactly. Before that letter, the newspapers used different names. But after it was published, everything changed. Every newspaper, every conversation, every police report, people stopped saying, "The Whitechapel murderer." Now, everyone knew him by one name. Jack the Ripper.
Did the letter help the police?
Not really. If anything, it made the investigation even harder. Hundreds of false letters arrived. False witnesses appeared. Rumors spread across London. The truth became harder to find. Meanwhile, the real killer, if he was still alive, was still free.
So after all that, the police still had nothing?
Very little. No reliable suspect. No confession. No arrest. Only fear. And a name the whole world would never forget. After November 1888, the Whitechapel murders slowly came to an end. The police continued their investigation. They interviewed hundreds of people. They followed countless leads. And over the years, many names were suggested. Some believed the killer was a local butcher. Others accused a doctor. Some even suspected a member of the British royal family. But none of these theories were ever proven.
So after all these years, we still don't know who he was?
That's right. More than 130 years have passed. Historians, detectives, writers, and amateur investigators have all tried to solve the mystery. Modern technology has helped answer many questions, but not the biggest one. Who was Jack the Ripper?
It's incredible. One man, 5 victims, an entire city living in fear, and yet, no final answer.
Exactly. Maybe his name is hidden somewhere, in a forgotten document. Maybe the truth disappeared forever, with the streets of Victorian London. Or maybe, some mysteries are never meant to be solved. That's why, more than a century later, people are still reading the old police files, still debating the suspects, still asking the same question. Who was Jack the Ripper?
And perhaps that's the real reason we still remember him today. Not because he escaped, but because he left behind a mystery that history has never been able to explain.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed today's story, don't forget to subscribe to Salamanca. And tell us in the comments, who do you think Jack the Ripper really was? We'll see you in the next story.